boys are back with another exciting podcast episode of American Pylon. Your host here, Will Mehall, joined by my counterparts as usual, James Thomas Fanning IV, Tyler Combs, and producer Dave back there making all of this possible. We've got a ton to talk about today, and I'm really excited to get into all of that. But before we do, I want to give a shout out to our partners at In We Go. So for just $30 a month, you guys can get access to events in and around the city. It's now live in Phoenix, Denver, the D.C. area, Atlanta, obviously, and the Tampa Bay area. So if you like going to ball games, which we actually took advantage of this past week, or brewery tours, comedy events, anything of the like, be sure to check out In We Go. And now for a limited time, if you plug in the promo code Pylon into the promo code box, you'll get $10 off your first month. So be sure to check them out at In We Go.
You guys all we all hit Bravo's game this week, didn't we?
Did you go to opening day?
I went on Wednesday.
Yes.
I didn't go to the home opener.
I went to the home opener. Very fun game, really fun atmosphere. Thankfully, game-wise, the Cubs were throwing it all over the yard. Will, you were there. 6 errors, I think.
I don't remember a lot of it.
It was fun to watch the Cubs sling it literally all over the ball field. So that just creates chaos when your team is benefiting from it. Braves running around the base like madmen. I think it was 8 runs, 9 runs. So it was a fun opening game as far as offensive fireworks, whether through the air or not. A couple of home runs from Ender and Acuna, which was nice.
Yeah.
And I thought the crowd was good. It was a pain getting to and in.
Oh yeah, Wednesday
and from
was the same.
The game.
It was awful just dropped off in an Uber.
Yeah, I gotta say SunTrust has got to get it together as far as getting fans in, as far as game experience being positive. And then, golly, we were trying to leave. The cheapest Uber was an Uber pool. I walked a mile from the stadium, or maybe 2 miles from the stadium. I walked all the way to like the AMC. I don't know what you call it, like the main event area, if you know what I'm talking about, in Smyrna. About 2 miles from the stadium, and
you walked there.
Walked there. An Uber pool was $77 from there.
You paid $77?
Nope. I called the girlfriend who was in bed already and said,
so naturally, I did the honorable thing. I made my girlfriend get up and come.
They say chivalry is dead.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't paying $80 to get home.
Yeah, that's
one
crazy.
Way,
that happened to me in Music Midtown. I've never had that happen at a Braves game.
Yeah, that was the first time I've
had
had
to
that.
walk like 3 miles away to get an Uber less than $50.
I actually
Midtown.
drove. Yeah. I drove to the game because we were going on like a company team outing event, and I live outside the perimeter, and I was like, I don't feel like taking an Uber the next morning to work. Like, I'll just drive. So I drove, and I parked in the Purple Deck, which is right by the stadium, basically where you get dropped off for your Ubers. Mm-hmm. And I was like, this is going to be kind of expensive. You know, luckily I'll be able to expense it or whatever. At the end of the day, I put in the ticket, and it just opened up and let me go.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it didn't charge me.
There's free parking with the ticket in that deck?
I have no idea how it worked, but... Yeah, I didn't even get into the game until the 3rd inning. Now, granted, that's because we were up in the Terrapin tap room, and it was company-sponsored beverages.
There you go.
So I was taking full advantage.
Tyler, you and I were. Was it you and I that were there one time when we tried to? There was a company that had rented it out, and we weren't even trying to crash. We just wanted to pay money, our own money, for a beer that we can take into the game. Because if our listeners haven't been to the stadium, you can buy a beer at the Terrapin tap room outside, and it's like $3 cheaper than inside, and they'll let you bring it in. And
I don't know how
this
that works,
woman came over to us and was like, no. Like, we have this place rented out. We have a tab. And we were like, we don't want to drink off your tab. We just want a beer. And she's like, no, get them out of here. And we were like, lady, are you serious? Like, we're going to be in and out in 2 minutes. The game already started. She's like, you have to leave.
The tab was ending in like 3 minutes. Like it was almost game time. And that's when it cut off, and they were going to, close it down and open it to whomever wanted to come in. And Jimmy, I ignored her. I was like, okay, I'm getting my wallet. I was like, I'll have a whatever, drink, whatever beer. She told the bartender, no, it's our company tab. And Jimmy said, we were just like, we will pay for it, separate from you. And she would not have it. So
she is not having it.
Good for you to be on the better half of enjoying.
She was obviously in
I had to
the
take full advantage.
Company party planning committee.
Yeah,
nothing was going to ruin her night.
That's awful. But
party police.
Yeah, I didn't even get to really stay for that long of the game. But my family was also in town. They had seats.
Yeah, I saw you were with your brothers.
Yeah, I went and set up with the family, and I only got to really stay for like 3 or 4 innings because I knew the traffic was going to be so bad. So I just went back down and drove home. But no, it was fun. I mean, that's a cool opening series. The Cubs always draws out a lot of fans, and the Braves look pretty good. So
yeah, the game I went to, they looked real good. Mario hit a 3-run double in the bottom of the 8th to bust the game open. That was pretty fun to watch. From the chop house, we were chopping.
Yeah, there's just something about baseball season being back, and I know David, as a longtime baseball fan, this is probably more so even in your wheelhouse. Because I know a lot of us don't follow baseball religiously continually throughout the season. I mean, it is just such a long season. So I know most of us pick it up later on, but it's just one of those things. And I know a lot of us have those memories from when we were back at Turner and tailgating in the blue lot and stuff like that. And obviously that dynamic has changed a little bit, unfortunately. In my opinion, I just think that there needs to be more tailgating space there or more opportunities for it. But it's still kind of like that romantic sport that you have those memories about.
Well, let me take the opportunity to clear up any misconceptions here, because I think there's two different types of baseball fans that you have in life. You have the ones that are following the stats, all of the players, everything that's going on with recruiting or contracts and all that kind of stuff, and that is not me. So if anyone thinks that is me, don't tweet at me because I don't know anything about that.
Don't at me.
You can at Tyler and I about that when it comes to Georgia football, but not so much the Braves. We gave Acuna $100 million. I know that.
Yeah, I did know that. So only because of the other big contracts, probably though. But my appreciation for baseball very much comes from the sport itself and the strategy playing the sport. I mean, half the time when I'm watching it, I'm not like, oh, so-and-so's up to bat. They're hitting, whatever their batting average.
You're not with a scorebook and
I'm usually,
Xing out
usually my mindset is, oh, they would really benefit from trying to do a hit and run right here or something like that. Like, and that's where my mind goes when I watch the game. It's usually like, it's not about the players. It's not about how they've been performing. It's just the strategy of the game. You've got a pitcher that's doing well. So like, what kind of, shifts do you make because of that? Or like, when do you do that hit and run? When do you steal, that type of thing? But, unfortunately, like I don't follow it enough to know that, oh man, they've been stealing all season. So, they make it 80% of the time. They're probably not going to make it this time. I get almost just as much enjoyment. I love the Braves, and like I grew up watching the Braves with my granddad and everything like that. But I almost get just as much out of it just watching a random baseball game and just following the baseball itself and not the team or the players or that type of thing.
Tune into some Georgia baseball. Not that would be random, but we're ranked number 2 in the country right now.
Well, I will
University of California, Los Angeles. Got a little East versus West thing building in Omaha.
Yeah, but to David's point, I was going to say I feel like baseball draws a much more definitive line in that respect between those two fan bases because baseball is such a numbers game. I mean, they have stats for literally everything. Mm-hmm. And I remember when I interned out of college at the local AAA ball club, and you would see these guys that would come there like just on their own. They didn't have they didn't bring a family or anything, and they would have like their scorebooks, their stat sheets, and then they would have like y'all used to collect baseball cards, right?
Yeah.
And you had like the sleeves, like you put the card. Yeah. They would have a whole sleeve of these guys with their minor league cards, and they would get there before the game to get every single card signed.
I didn't know they made minor league cards.
Yeah, when you do that, and now I get it. Like these guys are thinking, hey, if this guy ever makes it big, I've got his minor league, and then they'll probably try and get his rookie league. So I get that, but still, to have that kind of a commitment at a minor league level to me is like insane. That would never cross my mind to be like, you know what, let's go take in the Gwinnett Braves.
Well, I have something funny to add to that. So
Gwinnett Stripers.
That's true.
When I was in high school, when I was in 9th grade, or I guess it was sophomore year, I was
still in 9th grade.
Yeah, basically. There's no difference. I was starting on the JV team, but just dressing out for varsity, so I wasn't playing.
A little humble brag there by producer Dave.
That's not a humble brag. No, there were people my age that were like playing varsity at some points. But it just hadn't hit my growth spurt yet, so we were waiting on that to happen.
There you go. Still waiting.
Still
vertical
waiting.
Or lateral?
Well,
I'm just kidding.
But so the coach was kind of a dick, and there's a whole lot of history behind that. But he basically was like, "Well, we need you to keep stats," and I was like, "Are you serious? Like everyone else just gets to watch the game, and I got to hold this book and
you're on the team, you're like assistant manager.
Yeah, I'm dressed
assistant to the manager.
I'm dressed out, right?
That's the kind of thing that you get like the undersized white kid on a high school basketball team to do that loves basketball but would never be able to play on the team, so they give him that seat at the end of the bench.
Yeah,
But then he scores a basket at the end of the season and gets on YouTube.
And it gets on Facebook.
Well,
yeah, that happened for New Mexico State or something this year.
That's
kind of redheaded.
That's not what this was, but
then like
David wasn't handicapped.
I wasn't the Down syndrome kid.
He wasn't Down syndrome. He was just this manager.
There's something going on.
Whatever.
We're getting off the rails here.
Anyway, so I had to figure out how to do that, right? I had to figure out how to keep the books, and it's not nearly the easiest thing in the world. So the way I used to practice, I used to have the PlayStation, and I had High Heat Baseball 2004. And when you don't start these games, they start an automatic game. So you're just sitting there watching, the Marlins versus Houston or whatever, and it just starts playing.
And you would keep stats?
I would keep stats on PS2 games that just started out of the start menu that I hadn't touched the controller.
Wouldn't that time have been better spent practicing actual baseball so that you could play and not
Yeah,
keep
probably,
stats?
Jimmy. Yeah, this is just, we all have to deal with this adversity every once in a while,
Yeah.
Luckily, it was early in my development and not in my professional career.
You and Brenton Cox
Social
have
suicide.
obstacles, and some people be out there trying to make it harder.
But I got
Something like that he tweeted. Yeah, it's close.
I got good at it, but it is hard. Like if you've ever tried to follow, you have to freaking watch the game to be able to move the players around the bases and E2 fielder's choice, like all that stuff you're marking is like it gets real.
I used to do that for my little brother's Little League games, and then it was usually like halfway through the game that I would be like, let's be honest, like the only thing that matters here is the score at the end of it.
Yeah, I was going to say for Little League,
I'm going to go ahead
individual stats.
Yeah, I was supposed to.
Each out,
like,
you were saying
you've seen the scorebooks, right? And it has all of the small like outlines of the field because you would literally like score. Okay, this is a base on ball. This is a hit. This is a single or double. And I was like, at the end of the day, like nobody is asking me for these things. They ask, well, like, what the final
There's
score
probably
was.
like one dad that kept all the stats
Yeah,
and wanted
I'm
to
like,
compare them to yours.
why am
I'm
I
like,
doing
ooh,
this?
bad
And
news.
I just give up halfway through and keep track of the scoreboard. I think that's what's really important.
Yeah, it gets tough though when you're trying to decide like error versus infield hit.
Yeah,
like those gaps in between short and third, and like
Yep.
the shortstop, their glove like barely.
Usually depended on how hard the kid hustled.
Yeah, or just the assholeness of the scorer.
Who decides that in a
It's a scorer.
in a major league game? Is there like
There's an official
There's
scorer.
a neutral party, so it's not like each team is keeping their own
No,
stats or anything like that.
that's an official
It's
league score.
Yeah.
Okay,
It's interesting because sometimes they'll go back after the game and
I know
change it.
that.
and change something from a hit to an error.
Yeah.
or vice versa or something
Didn't
like that.
that fall into someone's hitting record or total or something? Then they go back and change someone they gave them or took
I'm
away
sure,
a hit?
but that's
Because if you get on base due to an error, that doesn't count.
As a
Towards
hit.
does it count as it doesn't count
It's
as
a no
hit?
hit.
Right?
Yeah.
It's not
It's
even.
like a
it doesn't even count as an
at-bat.
at-bat,
Yeah.
which is crazy because that does have a tremendous effect on stats if it's in a significant portion of the season.
But I think it does affect your on base percentage. Like you can count that as your on
Come on,
base
like
percentage.
sack fly.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's Moneyball
Yeah.
stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Getting on base is getting on base. Doesn't
Which is
matter how you
weird
do
because
it.
then that goes into like the best of pitch count. So then you have like, which is a tangible or a real thing. And then it's like, so you
It's all real stuff.
I know it's all real, but like then you have this guy who
but
didn't
that would tally the pitch count.
Exactly. And then you say, well, he does so many pitches per inning, so per game, per whatever. That all goes into his stats. It's kind of funny how
Yeah.
that doesn't get
So
recorded, but that's
theoretically,
going to
what
get
if
recorded.
what if a pitcher just like
all
went
sack
like
flies?
went like a full count against like every single batter, and then every single batter ended up getting on base due to an error, and then would the pitcher's game be like he technically faced 0 batters, but he threw 80 pitches? Would that be possible, or does he get credit for facing the batter,
Well, it's
even
like
if
you
the
could-
batter doesn't get credit for batting?
Yeah, I guess he gets the
We're
win.
going down a rabbit
Well, it's
hole.
like
Yeah.
you could technically throw
It's
a no
weird.
hitter and
Yeah.
lose the game.
Yeah.
I did.
David did that.
One
Wait,
hitter.
threw a one
Yeah,
hitter,
I
yeah.
lost to a one hitter.
We discussed that on season 1 of the podcast.
Yeah.
Good stuff.
But
It's
it
fun.
does that count? Like, if a player gets on base due to an error, does that count as a batter that the pitcher faced, or is that just a non?
It's not a hit. It's not counted as a hit. I mean, it counts as your pitch count, but it's not.
Yeah, I guess pitch count is all they keep. They don't keep track of how many actual batters you faced.
Yeah, for pitchers, it's like, did you win? Did you lose? Was it a no game or whatever?
no contest.
No contest, and then just like your-
fatality.
yeah, strikes, balls, innings.
But we do have another big sporting event coming up, and that's in our own
yeah, we
backyard.
do.
We've got the Masters that is on the horizon here. It's just probably the one sporting event that I have never been to and might never actually get to go to that I would want to go to. Like, I think if somebody offered me Super Bowl tickets or tickets on Sunday at the Masters, I would take Sunday at the Masters.
Really?
Well, I bet if you, I think I've read you have like a 1 in 30 chance, not Sunday necessarily, but a 1 in 30 chance of winning that lottery that they do every year.
For the practice rounds?
I mean, I think
No.
there's a certain number of tickets allotted for practice rounds and everything. Jess's friend Daniel is going on Thursday this week. Total lottery, never been. He got an actual round.
How long has he been in the pool? Do you know? Do you have any idea?
Well, it resets every year, so
really,
I don't think.
Wow.
Being in it every year doesn't increase your odds, but I would imagine he's probably done it since he was like 18 or something.
I feel like
reach out to him and ask.
It's kind of like Wimbledon or something like so prestigious and so much of one of those things where it's like, man, that would be so cool to say that you got to go and see. I don't know, but I mean, those ticket prices, like if you're just gonna.
They said this year is the most inflated they've ever been.
Really?
What are they going for?
I don't even know, but
because Tiger is so back.
I think it's because Tiger, and I think they were just saying that golf itself was in such a good a good spot as far as their superstars and the star power that all those guys bring. It's not just Tiger or like maybe Phil this year. Just with Rory, with I guess Spieth looking good. Tiger is
Dustin
in it.
Johnson.
Johnson's there. Bubba Watson's still
Justin Rose.
A fun name to keep up with. So you just have a lot more guys to really, keep up with and watch that are I guess Bubba's not so much younger, or of the younger sort coming. So not a big golf guy, but I'm with you, Will. It's just a much more.
Have y'all done a Masters poll yet?
No, I've
never done that.
I'm reading an article right now. It says Sportsline, which runs those 10,000 simulations, and they predicted Reed winning last year. They
predicted him winning last year?
Yeah, that was like in their simulation. He won the most out of anybody in the field. They're usually. I read their predictions every Friday before Georgia games, and they're usually pretty accurate.
I heard that Reed guy was like a real.
Nobody likes him. But before we get to that, they're predicting this year that Phil Mickelson doesnn't make the first cut.
That wouldn't surprise me.
I mean,
they are predicting Tiger will, though. I think I saw they picked Tiger to be there after the first cut.
Really?
Well,
I think I read that.
See who they picked to win.
I think it's McIlroy, isn't it?
He's paired with him?
Brooks Koepka makes a strong run at the title. Koepka. I'm reading. There's a lot of words in this article for telling me who to bet on. Here we go. Rory McIlroy is 7-1.
Okay. And we already covered this, Jimmy.
Okay.
I don't know, but it is cool.
Did Tiger make the first cut? Did you see that?
Tiger is 14-1, but there's a lot of words in this article. I'd rather it just be like a chart. It's very confusing. I'll do some research and we'll talk about it after the Masters is over. We'll talk about the article I read, but next time we record.
Super prepped here.
It's exciting.
Okay, what did we start to say though?
I was saying that Patrick Reed was supposedly like such a jerk. Didn't he get caught stealing from a teammate on the team and got kicked off? He was at Georgia, wasn't he?
Yeah, there was all kinds of stories about that. Then he went to West Georgia, or he went somewhere smaller?
He went to
Southern
Augusta State.
Or Augusta,
because he's from Augusta.
That's
but
right.
He was at UGA and he got caught fudging his score, moving his ball, or
I think and they also said some iPods and some stuff went missing or whatever when he was there, which is very similar to Nick Marshall.
Yeah, that was Nick.
But something to that effect. And then also, I think he had no contact with his family supposedly after he met his then fiance, now wife, or still wife, whatever. But I think a lot of it, I read some back and forth after that. I think he was a pretty good, easy guy to vilify. He looked like it. No one really wanted him to win.
He looked like a jerk.
Yeah. He's in shape because round is a shape. But he just didn't look like that. The guy you wanted him to win.
His family wasn't at the clubhouse.
They weren't invited, I don't think. I think he had to be invited. Or he asked him to leave or asked him to be removed.
I remember that.
His wife, I think, asked him.
I think there's bad blood between his family and his wife.
Someone gifted his parents some tickets. She spotted them and had them escorted out, I think, or something to that effect. But
since when can players' wives decide to have people escorted out?
I guess.
The players. The players shouldn't even have the right to tell people to leave.
Yeah.
And Tiger. I'm sorry, I thought this was America.
Well, I mean, if you're being a disruption on the course or you're breaking a rule, fine. Yeah, I get that. But the fact of the matter is I have tickets. I have every right to be here as any other ticket.
They weren't in their name or anything. I agree. I'm with you on that. I guess remember that being the story, which added to his kind of
shame on you, Patrick
vilification.
Reed.
Yeah, which
how dare you?
Also brings up the question of when Tiger Woods in his prime and had a girl every different day of the week that ended in day. Which of them women we get to choose who stays and who goes? Was it Hooters waitress? Was it Sky Lounge girl? Was it?
Didn't he get with Lindsey Vonn?
It depended on which day of the week.
Okay, yeah, I guess you're right.
I think he brought 4 different girls to the
so
Masters.
Who do you think was Miss Sunday
rounds.
For Tiger Woods?
His
wife?
His favorite one.
Lindsey
Probably
Vonn,
not his wife. Maybe Lindsey Vonn.
Yeah.
Because they had a thing.
We should get Tiger. We should get Tiger on next week after.
We should have our intern reach out to him. And, we'll reach out to him on Monday.
We'll figure this out.
He's got a big week coming up.
He has mentioned that he's expressed interest of coming on the show. We have just had jam-packed schedules. So Tiger, if you are listening, when we know you are, don't worry, we'll find a slot for you here.
He thought it was American Pylon and didn't appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Isn't there? Have you guys seen? There's been some memes that I keep seeing about like Tiger Woods being a Braves fan. What is the deal with that?
Is that real?
What is
he was
the
in a bunch
background
of,
to all those memes?
I don't know.
Know your meme?
People
was
just
dressed
like
up in-
photoshopping Tiger's face onto people wearing Braves jerseys. But then there's an actual photo of him dressed up in Braves stuff. When
But it was like
lot
a
younger.
legit equipment. He had like a helmet and a bat, and he was on the field and everything.
Really?
Like
He's
in
a
the
very
dugout
good.
circle.
I'm sure he was a good athlete. I mean,
He can get the
Why
low,
do you say
the
that?
low pitches.
yep. I mean, I don't know
Yeah.
because he's a professional golfer.
I don't know. This is weird. I haven't seen those. I'm not on Reddit.
I just assume that most professional athletes could have been
Most of
like
those
they're
people.
yeah. I mean, I feel like any like
No.
NFL player is going to
No.
walk in and be the best basketball player at his church league basketball. Like even if
I would say that depends probably on your position.
I feel like
if
we
you're a
like
kicker,
we make fun
if
of
you're
like
a kicker,
Tom Brady.
I don't think you have the right to just come in and think you're going to be the best basketball
You
player.
sure
on
as hell
church
don't.
Yeah, that's but David wasn't an NFL kicker. Quite.
He
Still,
could have
Just
been.
barely.
Not-
He
Still.
could have been.
But
I
I feel like we all give Tom Brady a hard time for being like such a statue and like he's not athletic. He's just like
All right, we're
the
gonna
best
put
quarterback of all time. But I feel like he would destroy all of us. in
we're gonna
basketball.
put John
Well, he's a hell of a lot
Daly at
taller
tight
than all of
end.
us.
He's
There
like
we go.
6'4".
I think he's taller than 6'4".
I think he's
Tom
right
Brady.
at
Tom Brady.
He's got to be like 6'6".
Maybe when he's got his hair long.
Tom
with the
Brady.
flow, he's like 6'5".
I'm going to wager Tom Brady's about 6'6".
Did you? Speaking of Tom Brady, and this segues into Gronk. Did you see where his girlfriend did the recreation of the
6'4".
God bless America.
Sorry, David. Go ahead.
I knew that, but I wanted to hear Tyler say it.
It just doesn't seem like he's got to be so much taller. All right, go ahead, David.
Wait, where's a helmet and cleats?
Yeah. So, did anyone hear anything I said?
No,
Or-
start
go ahead.
over.
You talking about Gronkowski?
Yeah. So his girlfriend, the model girlfriend that everyone likes to hate on for some reason, did the Margot Robbie scene from Wolf of Wall Street.
I did see this. Yes.
What?
Yeah.
When? Where?
Barstool.
Internet and a couple of weeks ago.
Post the link on the website
Yes.
for research
Oh.
purposes.
I did see a thing, speaking of Gronk, that not really has anything to do with him, that some NFL draft experts, like actual guys who rank players, said that if Zion Williamson just decided to enter the NFL draft this year with no preparation, no anything, just his basketball film to back him up as an athlete, he'd be a third-round pick as a tight end.
That's fair.
What do you think about LeBron in
Isn't that
his
crazy?
prime?
LeBron was a 4-star tight end coming out of high school. He's committed to Ohio State, I think, before he
I've always heard that. I've never actually checked.
I don't know if he ever committed,
Never
but
actually
he
checked that,
grew up
yeah.
an Ohio State fan, so I think he's gone on record saying if he had decided to play college football instead, he would have gone to Ohio
He didn't want to
State.
transfer down to play at Miami, and then left Miami to go back to Ohio State, and then left Ohio State to go play for UCLA.
UCLA, there you go.
And that would have been his college career.
Chasing those rings.
So I guess at some point you just are a freak athlete. You
Jeff
can
Francora
basically
was
do
committed
it.
to Clemson before he went pro.
he was cornerback at Parkview. He's close.
Also,
hometown
Joe
kid.
Mauer, the catcher for the Twins, was a 5-star quarterback committed to Florida
Really?
State.
Well, he made the
but
right
he was
decision.
number 1 overall pick when he came out of high school, so he went pro.
Baseball's
instead.
always the right decision.
Were you at that Northside game, Tyler?
Yeah, versus
Against
Parkview.
Parkview, yeah.
George Washington was a running back. Fumbled the ball in the 20-yard line.
Chancey Stuckey was the
Breakaway.
quarterback.
Yep.
You guys to watch Chancey Stuckey against Jeff Francoeur in high school?
Yep.
That's
in,
pretty
in
cool.
a state championship.
That's pretty cool.
Well, I ever told you guys about the time I played against Randall Cobb?
Yeah. Well,
The year was 2007.
What was crazy that
But
game?
were you actually playing?
I was there. I was dressed out. I was like David.
So you were playing about as much
I
as
was
your
playing
parents,
for the JV
as the
team,
parents
and I
that
was
were at
dressed
the game were
out for the
playing.
varsity. I was keeping stats. Just me and producer
right.
Dave.
Just offer it up
You played Randall
information.
Cobb about as much as David played any of those other games.
Oh, God. All right, yeah. No, what was crazy about that game though is the lights went out on half the field and they couldn't fix it. So, yeah.
What did they
It's
do?
like a 20-minute break.
Did they have to play on
They
like a
just-
short field or
Nope,
something?
they just sat there.
Was there a big momentum shift?
Well, we were like half court football, half court, you know, like trying to figure it out. But
Northside was driving during that, and then after that, they came back on. George Washington was a running back randomly.
His name
for
was George Washington.
number 22.
Hell yeah.
Who was for Northside.
America.
Broke open, was running, and I don't remember exactly because I was younger, but he switched hands or what. But he fumbles the football
Nobody
on
even
the
touched
20.
him? He just dropped it?
dropped it. He turns around. The guys in pursuit dove on it, captured the ball, and then Parkview. I think they bled the clock out. That's how they beat Northside.
so,
Wow.
Pretty well. After this whole 20-minute.
The Parkview Jeff Francoeur
after
versus the
after the
Northview
light
Chancey Stuckies.
Northside.
Northside.
North side, as Jimmy would say.
yeah. So
North side.
that was the coach for that game I ended up playing under him, and he used to always talk about because players that play multiple sports, you always have this complex, right? Like, I don't want to grind it out like in this football workout because I got to pitch later on or something like that. So you deal with this this balance between how much do I push myself in the off season versus I'm actually playing another sport. So I don't want to double up on an off-season football workout and then I have to go pitch in tomorrow or something like that.
Yeah.
Right. So the coach at the time for Northside, he used to always harp on apparently they treated it like a legend. Like Jeff Francoeur did like a circuit training for 5 hours that day before playing that state championship. He was training for baseball and then came out and played the football game or whatever. Basically being suck it up. Yeah.
Well, he's a future first
round
it's MLB draft
he
pick,
made millions of dollars. So let's calm down about
also, I forget the quarterback.
I'm going to be an insurance person one day.
Wasn't quite as well known as Jeff Francoeur or a little more local legend of Chancey Stuckey,
or Randall Cobb.
Running their quarterback for Warner Robins that year was Willie Reed, who went on to play for Florida State. So
really?
There's a bunch of guys in that game in that conference, I guess, that went on to play.
To give him his weekly mention, Dr. Brent Johnson's high school played against Eric Berry when he was a sophomore or junior. He said they came out and they went 3-and-out in the first series, I think, and that his student section was chanting overrated. And then the next play, Eric Berry had a pick six.
Okay.
And then he scored a touchdown, offense, defense, and special teams.
Aubrey Jones. I played
Avery Jones.
Avery Jones.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Northside.
Debatable. But yeah. I played. Yeah, he was on the 9th grade team.
Yeah.
When I was on JV.
And he went on to play at Georgia. Yeah. Because I think he went on to the NFL, I believe.
Yeah. The Jaguars.
Tyler Flowers went to Blessed Trinity, didn't he?
Yeah.
Are you guys the same age, or is he? How much?
He's older.
How much older? Were you guys ever in school together?
No. So I think he's
in his early 30s.
He's 5 years older than me.
Okay. That's pretty cool.
The only big-time athlete I know that I played with was Marquette King, punter for the Raiders.
That's a big one.
Fun fact, we've both been on the field with Marquette King. Because you warming up.
Is it not Marquette? It's Marquette.
Really? Mm-hmm.
Well, you warming up in high school and me on the Titans field holding the Titans flag for the national anthem. Well, we played the Raiders. He was warming up.
Yeah. All right.
Did we have an agenda? This is great.
Yeah, we're all
we're just talking about Northside.
Anybody else know any popular athletes? Comment below.
Yeah.
The King in the North is back. We can talk about.
Yeah.
He shaved his beard,
I think we should finish all the sports first.
We can definitely talk about that. Did you guys have anything you wanted to address about Georgia football, the practice? I know that you said that there's been a lot covering it, but nothing that's really groundbreaking. So I didn't know how much you wanted to touch.
There's not that much to say right now, and
unfortunately, we don't have to get into anything dry with Georgia football right now because there's
maybe touch on it on the back end if
there's not much is going on. I just think
the media is still limited in what they.
It's very limited. Yeah. They've only had one scrimmage, and they got a couple of minutes into that. It's still very limited as far as what they heard.
They usually only let us be there 10, 12 minutes.
Yeah, and then they kick us out.
Yeah.
So the only thing I've really noticed in reading all of this is Kirby has been very, very much. He's been much more vocal and open this offseason.
He's been a lot more positive than we've seen him be.
He's been putting on a lot of praise, and he's also kind of more open about the pain points too. I've noticed he's very much this is just where we suck, and this is where we're lacking, and we need some guys to come in that we signed from our 2019 class to hurry up because we need the depth. And he's just you've never heard him open up like that. He's, I
wonder if he's just becoming more comfortable in front of the microphone and as a head coach. Or I wonder if he talked to some sort of PR coach.
Maybe. That's just that's really the only been fun thing I'll say as far as this spring so far because, like he said, not much reported as far as action or any really big movement as far as someone stepping up and playing first team from the little bit we get to hear about. Yeah. But I think it's just the overall message from Kirby, despite all this crap going on the off the field stuff. That's made it fun to read for the off season.
I think the thing that if you're a true Blue fan that's into the nitty gritty, that's the most exciting to pay attention to right now would probably be the least sexy position battle you could possibly think of as a casual fan, which is right guard. I think we got Cade Mays.
Carousel.
Yeah, so if people out there do not pay that much attention, we basically have 3 players fighting to start at right guard, and I would bet lots of money that all 3 of them will be on an NFL roster in 5 years.
Yeah, totally.
And they're all fighting for one position between Cade Mays, an alum of Catholic High School in Knoxville, Tennessee. Shout out Cade.
Let me ask an obvious
Ben Cleveland
question.
And Jamari Sawyer.
Is there not enough room on the rest of the line for 2 more NFL players?
They all will play in the NFL.
Our offensive line is so good.
Right.
It is ridiculous.
It's filthy.
But, body type has to do with it. Like a tackle is obviously just a different body type than a guard. So you can't, you could have an All-American right guard, and then if his backup is really, really good, you can't necessarily just throw him at tackle. But Jamari has been taking
snaps. I'm just trying to make room, man. I feel like we got some room.
I mean, I do. I think with the exception
of
center, they are moving guys around and just trying to get the 5 best players on the field.
Tackle. I think that both tackles are lined up pretty good too.
But I mean, Andrew Thomas is probably the best player on the whole team.
Hey, we can do like a slim fast diet and get some of these guys out to tackle.
Dude, we're flipping guys. We're flipping 4-star defensive linemen over to the offensive linemen to the defensive side of the ball
because they can't get on the field.
Touch the playbook or any playing time or anything.
So how are the running backs looking behind these guys?
Running back's kind of thin right now because
TBD. Because we have Swift still coming back. Harrion, they say he's looked good, very physical, casted up in the leader role. But it really hinges. I mean, and there's James Cook as well. But it really all hinges on Zamir White. And he still hasn't been cleared for contact from his second ACL tear.
Yeah, and we signed a couple guys. Yeah, McIntosh isn't on campus yet, though.
No, he's not. So I don't really see him cracking.
We had an outside linebacker that was having a harder time getting on the field that played running back in high school that they moved over. So right now I think there's just the practices are so physical and they're trying to get the defense enough reps against good looks and stuff that we're – running back is just kind of by committee and nothing really means anything. I mean, it's DeAndre Swift's team.
Yeah.
And then we go from there. So, like, he's not somebody that they need to be given too many carries per practice and risk hurting himself because we know what we have in him.
Yeah,
so.
I will say to that point, David, and you bring up a good point. I mean, I think offensive line, it makes a quarterback and a running back look a lot better. Even if they're for any deficiencies, they're going to help you for sure. Having a strong line to run behind. I think we are going to have to be patient, which I think Jim and I both agree. We're going to have to be a little more objective heading into this season than we have been in the past, maybe just to be more fair and be more mature fans, but also kind of with a little bit more unknowns in the backfield now. So we have these stable of deep running backs that are known commodities in all the guys we can name. They're from the last 2 years. I guess then we're going to be a little bit more patient in the development of maybe just having Swift be the guy for a couple of games until maybe Zamir gets it going, Fromm gets it going, and get some wide receivers to step up. We're going to be a little bit more patient, I think, as far as seeing some true offensive productivity. Because I think in these past 2 years at least, I think we've averaged like in the 35, 37 points per game.
I think
up there.
Up towards 38 or so.
I think we're going to be good. I just don't know how efficient we'll be. So I think we need to be a little more, or maybe consistent is the correct word. I think we'll have to be patient with that. That's the one call out I'll say.
Yeah.
From offensive.
I think losing Holyfield could take away. He was you knew what you were getting with him every time he got the ball.
Yeah.
Like 3 yards in a cloud of dust, and it could help you just kind of plod down the field.
Bulldozer.
Well, it's just true. I mean, you went from we knew who Chubb, we knew who Sony, we knew who we know Swift now. Obviously, we knew Harrion. It was a great deep when we had Holyfield. Now, I mean, Harrion's being asked to do a lot more. Swift is the guy, and Zamir is still a big question mark. So that's just. Still great athletes back there, good running backs. This is the biggest unknown we've had in probably 6 years.
Yeah.
As far as not knowing what we have.
I'd say since 2013, as far as like Gurley's freshman year was 2012, and he was awesome. And we've been pretty settled in terms of like we sign a really good running back every other year, and we've really known who we had coming into this. And we do know what we have in Swift, but it's can he stay healthy? And we've pretty consistently had 2 really good running backs to where we were always like, this might be, Chubb may be the guy, but we have Sony.
Right.
Gurley may be the guy, but we got Nick Marshall back here. Chubb and Sony are freshmen or stuff like that. So
it's not Nick Marshall, but who was it? It was
Keith Marshall. Sorry, not Nick Marshall.
Yeah. But that's
Georgia cornerback legend.
That's
Nick
really
Marshall.
that's really all there is to it. I guess for spring practice, there really isn't outside of like Jimmy said, the right guard position. That's really the most intriguing and biggest movement as far as just every day. It's just a different name sitting in that first team rotation. But that's spring ball.
Yeah. So one thing I did want to touch on, and we try to talk about things that are sometimes sensitive topics as far as maybe outside the lines or off the field, however you want to call it.
Bob Lee.
Political.
Yeah. Sometimes that carry political implications, and because it is a part of sports, and I think that this topic and what I'm referring to is the statement from the Notre Dame women's head basketball coach, Muffet McGraw.
Her name's Muffet?
Muffet.
Oh, was she the one that was wearing that blue pantsuit the other night? That's
a great coach name.
I did watch the end of that. Did you guys watch the end of the Baylor Notre Dame women's game?
I just caught the middle. We were at was it Sunday? Because I was at Bucket
Sunday
Shop,
night.
I think.
Yeah, I was at Bonefish Grill. I watched it on accident.
Wow, Bonefish Grill.
Yeah, I had myself a nice little.
Wow, where's the Bonefish?
There's a Bonefish in Vinings.
Did you watch it at the bar?
Well, we were sitting at a high top, and I could see the TV.
Oh my god!
Wait, why were you
Nice little
sweating?
Yeah.
Hold up, why were
We're
you
gonna
at-
table this. Why
we
were
had a
were you
pool
at
day and
Bonefish
just had a nice
Why were
little
you at a
Sunday date night with Jess. I
You
don't know,
left
just
the
wanted
pool
a
to
night
go
out.
to the Bonefish Grill of all places?
Yeah,
Wow,
it was
okay.
fun.
Of all the local cuisine in this
It
city.
was nice.
Yeah.
I
You
got a
went to
steak and a crab
Bonefish.
cake.
That's weird. That is weird.
That is making
She worked
Georgia-
at. She was a hostess at Bonefish in college,
I-
so
that's
that's
fine.
like she
Living
likes
the
that.
glory days.
Bonefish is nice, but Bonefish Grill, so I like Bonefish, but that is the premier like dining place in Macon, Georgia. So I refuse to go there outside of Macon, Georgia.
That's like
just
if you're over the Red Lobster.
Yeah.
You're
It's
just
like, what
we're
is
having
that?
ourselves.
Yeah,
a
it's like a
time.
nicer Longhorn.
It's a 10-year
It's just a tier.
anniversary.
It's a tier below like the Ruth's Chris and the Flemings and the Bones
exactly.
of the world.
It's like what's the catch of the day at Bonefish Grill right here beside the
Tilapia.
Chattahoochee? You know?
Market price. Don't give me that.
Pecan crusted tilapia.
That was frozen 20 minutes ago.
I had a 6-ounce sirloin with the crab cake, nice glass of red wine.
Wow.
Just kind of eased my way into the week.
To our listeners who like Bonefish, no offense, that's just
Yeah.
I
think
love Bonefish.
I've only been once
I
or
like
twice.
it too.
I'm not a big
Little life hack. My parents taught me Bonefish and Outback are owned by the same restaurant group, and they have a loyalty program, so you can build up your.
I know it.
You can build up your loyalty
Well, so is
points
Olive
at
Garden.
Outback, and then use them at Bonefish, and they go farther.
There you go.
So that was the first account I ever had working as a broker in the insurance industry.
Was Olive Garden?
No, it was that whole company that owns Bonefish.
What's the
and,
name of it again?
Bloomin',
Reese knows.
Not Bloomin' Brands.
Reese is off camera. Ask him real quick.
It might
I
be-
guarantee he knows.
I think it's Bloomin' Brands.
If only we had a computer.
Whatever
in
it
front of
was. Anyway, so they don't own any of their locations. They
just lease it.
They they rent all of their locations. And so I took over this account right at the beginning of January when all of their property management wanted their new certificates of insurance that
What?
yeah. So
This is
like
getting
I don't
crazy.
know what that means.
it doesn't mean anything
A
other
headache for David.
Yeah, other than the fact that like one day I agreed to take on a responsibility that added 200 emails to my inbox a day.
Oh, dang.
Yeah.
I don't
They
know.
needed a separate certificate for every single physical brick and mortar location.
Because they're trying
in
to
the
catch
entire
they're
restaurant
trying to
group.
I
check the
remember you
box.
saying this.
Yeah, they're trying to check the box and say like we need our new certificates, and they all rolled over on 1/1 because a lot of people like to establish their insurance along with their fiscal year right at the beginning of the year, and it was like that day came for me, and it was like
Reckoning.
Yeah.
The reckoning. David just drowning in emails. Like,
That's
why?
exactly what happened. But yeah, I'm very familiar with all. They own Bonefish Grill,
Olive Garden, right?
Ray's.
Nope.
Not
got
Olive Garden.
I got you.
All right, let's hear it, Tyler.
Outback, Carrabba's, Bonefish,
Carrabba's.
Fleming's.
Fleming's Steak and
Yeah,
and
that's
Ray's.
what my parents go to Outback to earn their points, but they go to Fleming's
Yeah.
or Bonefish to
I'm
use
just
their
not.
rewards.
I'm just not a big
Seasons
fan of any
52.
of those restaurants.
Oh, well.
Have you ever been to Fleming's?
I like
No.
Carrabba's and Bonefish and Fleming's.
Carrabba's. I just
We
think.
got Bang Bang Shrimp on Sunday.
Yeah, it's
At
good.
Bonefish?
I don't know. I
What's
guess
the parent company,
Mwah.
Tyler? Is it
Blooming Brands, yeah.
the way I look at it is, it's like
okay.
if I'm going
What
to
do you know?
spend, $25 a piece or $30 or $40 a piece on a plate for dinner, it's like I kind of want to go someplace that's like a one-off.
I
in
do
the
agree
city.
with that.
Well,
I think
that's
living
where I
in
was
Atlanta
going.
That's
has made
the
me more
only.
that way.
That's the only reason I say that.
That's where I was going.
I'm
we're
not-
spoiled living in
Yeah,
Atlanta that we
that's
have all
true.
those options.
I'm
Growing
not
up in Knoxville, it's such a chain restaurant
Sure.
city that Bonefish is the nicest place you can go without going really nice to like
Okay.
a Ritz Chris or
So,
something.
yeah, I just want to preface that saying I'm not saying that like I'm too good to eat there or I don't think it's good. I'm just saying like
But I'm too good to eat there.
I
and
think
don't
you
know.
are. I mean, look at you.
I mean, I don't go out to eat all that often, so when I do, like that money, I want to be
Yeah.
like, oh,
No.
I want to see like an experience
Yeah.
that wouldn't be just anywhere else.
That's exactly what
all
I
I'm
was saying.
saying.
That's exactly what we were all saying, I think, is I was only giving Jimmy crap because I thought you were in Atlanta. I forgot you were
Yeah.
in Knoxville when you said that, right?
No, I was in Vinings.
Oh my god.
Oh, damn it. Okay.
Okay.
Well, anyway, that's what I was thinking. There are just so many options here
Okay.
locally.
Yeah.
I can't.
It's
I
5
guess
miles
can't.
What
away.
is wrong with you?
I just-
Yeah.
Easy. Bonefish is our new sponsor, so everybody be nice.
Okay. I like Bonefish.
That's
I will
news to
go there
me.
when I'm home. Which is
And them.
way, way, way far down the list.
Anyways, they had the Baylor Notre Dame women's basketball national
Yeah,
championship.
back to Muffet.
So
on.
back to this.
Back to
What
Muffet.
a game!
Back to this political conversation that I prefaced this so seriously
So
for.
Baylor won, right?
I have no idea.
I
That's
think-
not the point of this discussion. That
Okay.
bears no weight, and frankly, I don't think any of our listeners care either. What does make a difference is the comments that Muffet McGraw had to make.
Muffet.
Had to make.
Did her parents name her after Little Miss Muffet?
Did they
No,
call
is that
the
her
bench
name?
a Tuffet?
I think that this is
What is
one
a
of the,
curdle? Curdle and Way.
I think
We
this
are
is
losing
one
the
of
fans.
those names that like that's not her real name. Probably it can't be. There's no way.
I'm sweating.
I don't know.
Baylor won 82-81.
You know?
So Baylor was like 22 points ahead, and this tall blonde girl they had hurt her knee, and then Notre Dame went on like a 18-4 run.
I hate when that happens.
I was watching all this from the bar at Bonefish Grill.
Can't even name her. That tall blonde chick.
Yeah.
Is she basketball hard?
Probably Brittany. That's a very basketball name.
So,
Will, where were you going with this?
So her stance, she was asked about the state of her staff and who she would be bringing on. I guess there was going to be some shuffling or whatever. And she basically said that she would no longer hire any man onto her staff. And her quote was, when you look at men's basketball, 99% of the jobs go to men. Why shouldn't 100 or 99% of the jobs in women's basketball go to women? Maybe it's because we only have 10% women athletic directors in Division I. People hire people who that look like them. That's the problem. So
her given name is Ann. Muffet is a nickname.
That makes sense.
Just to clear that up.
So let me flip this. If there was any Division I coach of a team that said, I will never hire a woman on my staff, there would be hell to pay.
Oh, yeah.
So this, number one, is a huge double standard. Number two, I see where she's coming from in women's basketball. But at the same time, excuse me, I think it harkens back to anything with any job. Like, this depends so much more on your pedigree and what you bring to the table, and so much less about the aesthetics that go along with it. And we talked a little bit about this before we started the podcast, saying that if Kirby somehow found a female football savant that was just like an incredible incredible offensive coordinator, and we thought it could give us one more win in the season, I'm pretty sure most people would be like, yeah, I don't care who she is, as long as she's going to get us,
Right.
To at least the SEC championship, if not.
So we're just assuming like John Gruden with a wig, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that goes back so much more. Like, why would you ever draw a line in the sand and be like, nope, like that's just never going to happen. I don't care if they can help our team.
Yeah.
I don't care if they're
stance.
an important, part of the organization. So I don't know. I just wanted to hear what y'all thought. If you thought that was completely out of line, because she's getting support and dissent, on either side. So I wanted to hear what y'all's take was on that hardline stance from Muffet.
Let me go first.
Muffet McGraw.
So I think this is an interesting time where a lot of this is just continually resurfaces with not only sports, but just like the workplace and everything, politics, that type of thing. I think she's doing herself a little bit of a disservice by taking it to that level. I mean, I think what she should do, or anybody in her position, sorry, if anyone heard that, a dog just bull rushed my microphone.
Just came and headbutted the microphone.
So, all right, hope she's all right. Anyway, yeah, no, I think she just took it too far to a level, because I can't look at y'all right now. I'm trying not to laugh.
We can edit this out.
Yeah, no, we can't. No, I'm not doing
this.
that anymore. This is real.
I got you, dude.
All right.
So
let's get this bread, guys.
So yeah, so I feel like she went too far with it. Like, if she comes out and says, I think we should foster more, women working in this area. Stop it, Will. Working in this area and everything, like that's one thing. But just like you said, draw that hard line and say no men whatsoever. The reason I say that is because, so I went to a kicking camp when I was in high school, and the head instructor for that camp was a woman, and she actually was the special teams coach at Georgia Tech for a period of time. She was the kicking coach. And to be determined whether she was a great kicking coach or not, but she knew what she was talking about, and she held camps, and she was nationally known for this type of skill. And so obviously there was no line drawn there from a D1 NCAA football program, right? She was actually on staff doing this, and it's not like she just, her career moved on to different places, right? So I think it's one of those things. It's like, yeah, I understand the sentiment and the numbers and the percentages, and there's only 10% of women here or whatever, but to make the stance where you're cutting out a whole group of the population just to build that makes no sense. Like she should just, I think we all agree, she should just come out and say, I'm here to hire the best talent, and if I find that the best talent that works well in our system and works well for our university is female coaches or whatnot, then so be it. But not I don't understand the hard lines, because you're not creating inclusiveness. You're continuing to divide.
Yep.
Yeah. It was
very well put, David.
I would imagine she's just trying to get people talking about it.
Well, look what happened.
Yeah, I mean,
but
we're talking
to
about
what
it.
benefit? Does anyone respect her now?
She's going to get at least 30 views off this.
Does anyone truly?
Yeah.
Does anyone
critically
truly
acclaimed podcast American
respect her now, or more so now? Look at her own resume. Look at she's taking her team to the national championship, already successful.
Right.
Why? You're already going to create. You yourself, as a woman or as a head coach, just like Pat Summitt, are creating an attractive environment to come to for people to come work there. That can be guys working under you. That can be GAs. That can be whomever. The next Gino Oriema, whatever that looks like. I don't understand why she goes there and says that. I don't think that's going to really make her lose any possible candidates. I still think if a guy wants to get a job, you go for it. If that's where you want to go work, fine. I don't know that she probably truly stands behind that, like she says. I hope she doesn't. But I can't.
She was pretty. There's a lot of quotes that I'm not saying.
I didn't hear it.
I would advise people to go and look it up. It's all over. You can find these stories and the quotes.
Maybe I'd like to see it a little more in context or her tone. But I would find it hard to believe that anyone, especially at that level of transparency and being in the public eye like that in a sport can truly have that kind of stance and remain there. Like you said, if the roles were reversed, imagine saying anything. I'll never hire a black man or a black person or a white person or a male or a female or a Asian person or anything. You can name anything you want. I'll never hire insert adjective of person.
Yeah. But I think football is the greatest comparison to that, right? Because basketball is such a female, male, whatever.
Universal.
It's the same game, right? But not a lot of women have played football based on the physicality required to play the game, right? So then that becomes the whole argument. Kicking aside, that was just a random example, but the argument of football in general, it's you haven't played the game, and you may not understand that your receiver is gassed because he just got nailed on the three previous plays or whatever.
So I think David Pollock made that point 2 years ago. You remember that?
Yeah, it's when Condoleezza Rice got put on the committee for the college football playoff, and he said something to the effect of he said
if you haven't played, you shouldn't be on it.
Yeah,
and they were like, so you're saying women shouldn't be on it? And he was like, you said that, not me.
He said you need to have your hand in the dirt. I think was what his memorable quote was. To truly understand the sport and everything that goes into the minutia of what David was saying and everything to that effect that goes into really understanding the grind and everything to making any kind of big decision is going to be scrutinized week to week.
In basketball, she took a little bit of a hard-nosed approach to it, but I would say the fact that, I don't know if she just made that quote up or if it's an actual quote that, coaching in basketball, men and women's, is 90% male. I would say that the 11th percentile of women is probably better than the 1st percentile of men. Does that make sense at all? I feel like in professional sports, you have all these retreads, these coaches get fired and then they get rehired just because they've been around. And there's honestly probably a woman out there who, without playing basketball, could be a better offensive coordinator than Hugh Jackson would be. The Browns head coach that got fired. That was the worst coach ever.
I don't know if I would go that far. I would say
if
within
the pool
the sport
is
of basketball.
10%, so inside of basketball, it's 10% women, 90% men. I'm saying that 11% of women, so that ones that are on the edge but haven't quite made it in, there's probably a bunch of them that are better than the bottom 4% of men. So it probably, I don't know that it would be 50-50 just because I think, there's probably a larger pool to draw from in terms of people that played in high school and stuff, but 90-10 seems a little skewed to play devil's advocate.
So there's one thing that I think that typically balances that out, and it's the need for wins and success. Because at the end,
I'm saying there's several coaches in the NCAA who have been fired multiple times. It's, he was a coach at Purdue, and then he had a few bad years, so he got fired, and then he took a year off, and then he was the coach at LSU, and then he took, had a few years and got fired. And he's been fired 5 times, and people keep hiring him.
So like the Butch Jones of basketball.
Exactly. I think at that point you could at least, as a woman in basketball, make the argument to be like, look, why do you keep hiring this guy that's been fired by 4 other programs just because he's in the good old boys club is a name?
I would say that's probably more applicable if it were happening on the women's basketball side. So, for instance, if there was a male coach in women's basketball that was, jumping from program to program and clearly hadn't found success, then absolutely there should be a hard look at, okay, well, we're clearly just recycling talent or the lack thereof. Maybe we need to take a deeper look at the women that are top tier and available to coach. I don't know what do you think about having a female head coach of a college men's basketball team and just the dynamic between that? I'm not saying that they wouldn't be a good coach. I'm just saying, like,
I would think it would be. How different would it be than a man being the head coach of a women's basketball team?
I think that's weird too.
You think it's weird that a man is
I would say more. I mean, she told us in the article 90% of coaches, and did I misread what she said? Or she said 90-10, but I don't know if that includes men's basketball too.
But that's what I'm saying is kind of like I'm not saying like Ariema is a great coach, obviously. I just never understood like why gravitate towards women's basketball. Like if you are an outstanding coach, bar none, and I'm assuming he played, like, why would it not be men's basketball first just because you grew up playing men's basketball, and why not women's?
It's a whole coaching. I think it's a whole coaching style. It's a whole like masculinity issue. Like, and that just goes back into time, right? Like, how are guys going to react to a female head coach? But then you've got female CEOs that are extremely successful, right? So if you're looking at the coach as a CEO, maybe there should be more open-mindedness to get about it. But now you're not just talking about like professional performance. You're talking about like physical performance.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like the locker room dynamic and the things that gets a team pumped up and inspires them, and the dynamic that they have of a role model and things like that. I'm not saying that it shouldn't happen or that there should be opportunities available. I just don't know. And again, I've never been a college basketball player, so I don't know. Maybe that dynamic doesn't matter. But as an outsider looking in, I got to think that if you're looking up to somebody who probably played in their time, like they're experiencing the same, I don't know, demands and dynamics that you had.
Well, you just get the reaction of, you don't know. You don't know. Like, you played women's college basketball at whatever small university and you've made a good coach, but you're always going to get those kind of reactions. And it's not even at the, female coach, male coach basketball level. Like, you have that interaction with NFL head coaches that can't rein in their players, or the players just, they just don't rein in that control like you see with like a Saban at Alabama, or like, some of the other NFL head coaches that really just kind of like keep the ball rolling.
I almost think it's easier to integrate men and women into different sectors, right? Women into like a professional environment. Mm-hmm. Than it would be into like a college environment.
Well, because you're mostly, I'm going to be frank here, mostly that's about brains, right? Which you can say is even across the board.
I don't think that they could be necessarily a position coach, like an offensive line position coach, but they could absolutely be coordinators or head coaches.
But even in like an office environment, you're talking about like someone's intellectual capabilities versus like, you can run faster.
Right.
Oh, really? I can run faster? Like, screw you. You know what I mean? It's one of those things. It's like, hey, you've never ran as fast as I've ever ran in your life. How do you know I can run faster or whatever? You know what I mean? It's like, it's a tough.
But just like, again, to stay on the other side of the argument, like Nick Saban played like 1 year at like Kent State or something. I mean, he wasn't a particularly good football player. He's the greatest coach of all time. Bill Belichick was nothing special, and I think there's a lot of good coaches out there. I would say it's more rare for a great player to translate to a great coach than it is for a great coach
like Phil Jackson.
No, I was just saying like why female coaches might not translate as easy as like right up front.
With the perception?
Just because of tradition, historical perception.
Yeah,
like,
you're dealing with like 18-year-old kids and stuff like that. But I think in the same way that a male player could say to a female coach like, oh, you don't know like some player that's going through Alabama's offseason strength and conditioning program while Saban's yelling at him could be like, screw, like, you don't know what I'm going through right now. You've never done any of this. Like, your college experience was nothing like that.
I think it's more of why is this, at least for football, which isn't really apples and oranges because we were talking about.
Yeah, I feel like football is a totally different
football is like why, or even women's basketball. I guess it's not broken. It's not. There's not some injustice being served where things aren't getting off the ground and they're not getting. Like people know who Pat Summitt is. I know who Gino Auriemma is. I know who the successful people are in their sport, just like we do for every sport. And then for football, there doesn't need. This might not come off nice, but that's okay that it's exclusive. It's a very hard sport. It's a very cutthroat sport. Not all players make it. Not everyone's cut out to lead those men. Not everyone's cut out or deserves to be playing in that league. Same for earning these scholarships. So for me, it's even if we want to move this and shift this to the football discussion, it's why? Why does a woman need to be a head football coach? She doesn't. She has to earn that just like any man does, just like any black man, white man, Asian man, just like any guy on that field. They have to earn that spot. You don't just reserve a scholarship for a girl because you have to have a girl. You know? So I don't like her saying,
but as far as the coach
but I'm taking on this vendetta and reserving all of my staff for just this specific gender because I just feel like it.
Well, to me, it's like I think she's saying I'm trying to give an underrepresented group a shot, and that's my prerogative. And if it crashes and burns, then I'm the one. At least she's assuming the liability,
and that's fine. I guess
like she's the one that's going to get
fired.
Well,
it's funny because Gino Auriemma, he was quoted as saying, quote, I hope she sends a thank you to all those guys that used to be on her staff that got her all those good players and won all those championships.
Whoa, sassy. Who's this person?
Gino Auriemma.
Who is?
Second greatest coach of all time, UConn.
UConn's coach?
Yeah.
Behind Pat Summitt, you're talking about?
Yeah.
So, like, that's the thing, though. It's
Shout out, Pat. I went to prom, not with her. I was in the
prom with Pat Summitt.
I didn't go to
Dude, crushing it.
Wow. I ate dinner in the same group as her son in high school. Like, we both went with girls.
And maybe Pat Summitt did say stuff like this, but like look how respected she is. She didn't say any of this stuff. She doesn't like I'm going to reserve it only for. And it almost makes me want to pull against this woman for saying that, not because male versus female, or it'd be any. I mean, I don't know. It's just it's so brash.
It comes down to the best person for the job, and diversity for the sake of diversity doesn't make anything stronger. What makes an organization, whether that's a business or a sports organization, stronger is people that are going to contribute to what ultimately matters at the end of the day, and that's wins on the field, on the court. So I couldn't care less
how many women, men you have.
Yeah, exactly. What matters at the end of the day is, are we going to get the W, and are you contributing to that effort, or are you a detriment to the team? So to come out, I understand what she's saying. She's stepping forward and say there needs to be more opportunities for women, and there should be more consideration given to them. That's great. Why didn't you just say that?
Yeah. If that was your point. My thing is, all I'm saying is like, at least I'll give her a little more credit because she's the one, like I said, assuming the liability. Like it would be. Like if a booster came out and was like, oh, like we're only going to have a male coach, or we're only going to have a white coach, or we're only going to do this, or else I'm going to withdraw all of my funding.
But what's her real liability?
Like, he has nothing to lose. Her livelihood. She's going to get fired if she doesn't win enough games.
Nothing's going to change. She's going to make this statement. We're all going to forget about it in 3 weeks. And
But if she puts her money where her mouth is and she puts together an all-female staff, it's either going to work or it's not.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I mean, but say, don't you? I mean, think about it from a business standpoint. Aren't you? If you were running your own business, I'm only going to hire men. Are you not cutting out the potential of much more talented people?
Absolutely.
Let's just hope you're not a Hooters.
But
you definitely are. I'm only going to hire women. I'm only going to hire whites.
Well, it's the same thing that I say. It's like again, you got to have face-to-face interviews, but I'm always like, I think that every resume should exclude. Or applications should exclude a name, gender, race, like all of that should be wiped off, and I should be looking at qualifications, like right off the bat. And I think that's the same way when you're looking at coaching for a staff. Like, what do you bring to the table? Because I don't care.
Or college admissions, Hollywood.
But I understand the concept of in a perfect world, if everything was done perfectly blindly, you would end up with a perfectly heterogeneous staff, like an equal amount of black people, an equal amount of white people, equal amount of men, equal amount of women.
Well, I don't care about that.
I understand that when there is an underrepresented group, that they're fighting for more inclusiveness until it gets to 50-50.
Yeah, but
I would think that if tomorrow women's basketball is 50% men and 50% women, then she would be like, okay, like this is reasonable.
But I'm saying that doesn't matter at all. Like I don't care how diverse a staff is. I care that every single person on that team is the
But
best
I'm saying
person at that job.
If you were hiring and you could do it with absolutely no bias, everything, like, don't you think just numbers-wise and theoretically you would end up with, like, an equal mix of
I guess. I don't know
all
what
of these
that
things
applicant
that you're
pool is
saying?
like, I guess, but
I would think that if you interviewed a million people
I
and
don't
you
think
wanted,
you would.
You don't think if you
No.
interviewed 1,000 people and you wanted to hire the
If
100 most
UGA
qualified, you don't
UG
think you would end up with roughly 50
probably
men and
not.
50 women?
Nope.
And
I think if UGA, you would not have a certain number to meet, a certain quota, a certain number. You would have a very different looking campus if UGA did not have to meet certain numbers of everything. Every college campus would.
But to me, so if that's the case, that's reasonable for the underrepresented group to fight for more representation, which is what she's doing.
No, that's being more qualified.
yeah.
That's whoever that is. That could be males. That could be white males. That could be people from Macon, Georgia. That could be people from whoever.
It doesn't.
People from Macon, Canada.
Even people from Macon.
People from Macon are not qualified to go to Georgia.
I'm just saying, making something. Well,
Right.
not many people went. No one went from my class.
But that's
Nobody.
that was a shot at Tyler, not.
But
not people
that's what I'm
actually
saying,
from
and we don't have to.
And you
Shout out
bonefish
to Ed
eaters.
Freeman State
Disclaimer.
Farm.
Yeah,
And you bonefish
we'll get
eaters.
him at the end. And then again, the point that I'm making, we don't have to continue because we could go on for hours about this. All that I am saying is that it doesn't matter about your race, your gender, your orientation, sexual orientation, anything like that. What matters is that you're going to take this program to the next level. And Tyler alluded to the college conversation, and that's the same thing. Like, if I'm a college admissions, like, I'm looking at the people who are the most qualified to get into our university based on our standards, and everything else should be off the table. That's all I'm saying.
Georgia's football team's 100% male.
That's true.
It's messed up.
The most qualified.
And I've applied every year that I was there.
Yep.
And I still didn't get in.
Yeah.
I kept wondering.
They are heightest and speedest
Yeah,
and strengthest.
exactly.
Yeah, it is crazy. Okay, so we're going to wrap things up here and very quickly.
Talk about Game of Thrones.
Shout out to Virginia for winning the NCAA tournament.
Oh, yeah, we forgot about that.
Yeah, that's
And the most anticlimactic championship game of all time.
What?
I feel like I wanted Auburn, Michigan State so bad.
I did too.
dude, that was a great game.
It ended up being a
It was
really good game.
Heck of a game.
Just going into it, like I couldn't. I was rooting for Texas Tech because it's like,
Yeah.
why
Well, you had
not?
the
Like, I
Virginia
don't care
area
about
that
Virginia.
they lost the first team to lose to a 16 seed.
Mhm.
Yeah, but
Worst
that was
to first.
hilarious. I prefer the meme of losing to a 16
Yeah, I
seed
agree.
to the dream season and turning it all around
Yeah.
and stuff.
I don't
Maybe
know.
they'll make it 30 for 30 about it one day and it'll be kind of cool. But
Yeah.
It was entertaining.
when they lost to
It was
UBC,
good.
it was
And
hilarious.
Texas Tech couldn't do anything in overtime. We were sitting here watching it, and our roommate Spencer, who was just like, I don't know how they're scoring points because they couldn't draw. It was like they were out of ideas. Virginia had figured it out by then, and Texas Tech couldn't do anything.
Well, it was weird, and we saw it, and because I rewatched it today, the play that sent it to overtime was Texas Tech was ahead by 3, and the Virginia passed the ball like underneath, and they were going for a layup, and their defense just crashed it, so we kicked it out to the 3, and it's like the same. UCF did the same thing to lose to Duke in the round of 32 or whatever. It's like you got to do some sort of risk analysis here to be like, when you're up by 3 and there's less than 30 seconds left, let them have a layup.
Yeah.
Who cares? Unless you're just like a horrendous free throw team.
Right.
What is to be gained by
and
making them kick it out and potentially now have the game tying shot
and then also
versus being still ahead by 1 and being guaranteed 2 free throws before they get the ball back?
Yeah.
Because you know they're going to foul you because you have the shot clock.
Texas Tech dribbles on the field or court and pulls up a 3 with a couple of like 2 or 3 seconds left. He had not all the time in the world, but he had time to drive in, go for a layup or draw the foul, and just hit 1 of 2 free throws and call it a night and win the game.
Yeah.
Instead, he just dribbles down, pulls up with like 3 seconds, and shoots a 3. It's like, what are you doing? Like, you just to me, it's like you needed 1 point and you pull it from behind the arch with a couple of seconds on the clock.
Yeah.
Blew my mind. It was.
I mean, it's hard.
frustrating
It's
to see
easy
them
for us to
put-
be
yeah.
like sitting on our
It
couch.
is.
and be
It
like,
is.
that guy's a moron.
Yeah,
That's why
yeah.
have,
I would have
spill,
totally,
like,
I would have
popcorn on
totally
myself.
thrown it up. I would have totally thrown it up with
Raindrops.
Yeah. Just
over
us
the
sitting here
backboard.
judging.
But it was an entertaining game. It was fun. It was
Yeah.
fun. It was just this is the most I've ever watched of a tournament. So it was a good tournament.
Same here.
Auburn was
It's the least I've
exciting
ever
game.
watched.
Really?
Yeah,
I watched a bunch because I started paying attention to Tennessee, and then they lost in the Sweet 16. But then Auburn became the
They turned
team
it up.
that I really
And
enjoyed
Bruce Pearl's a
watching.
fun animated guy.
I can confirm I watched 0 minutes of March Madness.
Of the
None?
whole tournament? What were you doing?
Did you watch the game
Selling
last
your
night?
house, I guess?
Selling and buying houses. Yes.
Okay, that's
Houses.
On that hustle. All right, so again, I think we're running a little bit over, but I do want to get to this topic of discussion, and that is Game of Thrones. It is so back. We have waited 2 long years for this. I know most people, you guys have probably done a bit of catch up or recap watching or something like that. I know I had to, and actually,
I reread all the books last week.
Did you really?
No, that would take like 6 months. That's impossible.
I've never even laid eyes on one of those books.
I read them all, but that was like 4 years ago.
Nerd alert.
I know. But now the show is ahead of the
No,
book,
Jimmy
so it
is a
matter.
hell of an encyclopedia. When we're watching the show, and I'm like, who is that? And
It
why?
helps, yeah.
Jimmy just gives me the whole.
I think it would
he's
help a
connecting
lot. I
all
still
the-
have the flow chart that
that's
Tyler and I
Boromir.
made at the end of the last season finale. I still
impressive.
have that chart downstairs.
It was impressive.
Gandalf.
I would like to see that.
I'll go get it after the show.
Yeah.
Okay. So what I want to get is a couple of predictions. Number one, what major character is going to die in this first episode back?
You think
First
one dies in the first?
episode?
They
Somebody
do. They
dies first
predict
episode?
it's going to be a big loss.
100% somebody's going to die. And there might even be more than one. So
The Hound.
you think it's going to be the Hound?
I think he's-
I think the Hound Mountain's going to be a build up to like one of the last.
Clegane Bowl.
Yeah, one of the next last
Daenerys.
episodes.
Nah, Daenerys and Jon, one of them will die in like the final battle. Like
other's
they'll
arms.
make it farther, I think.
Okay,
I don't
well,
think one of
let's
them
answer your
dies in the
question because I know
very
we're short
first
on time.
episode.
Who dies in the first? Boom. Who?
I say Sansa.
Okay. That's where I was
Sansa
going.
is not relevant.
It's
She's not
it's
important to the
dispensable.
plot.
It's big, but it's dispensable. Yeah.
Yeah, and they've been building up that little dark-haired girl, not Arya, but the
Oh, the little short girl.
the little girl who rules
Yeah.
the
Oh,
men
yeah.
in the north or whatever.
Yeah.
I could see her dying.
Alice Karstark. That's her name.
Karstarks.
Mhm.
Okay.
So they've been
David?
building her up to be like the strong female role to sort of take over for Sansa up there playing the Game of Thrones.
I could see her dying though,
Alice Karstark?
just to inflict that kind of feeling of
That
loss.
would be so George
I'd
R.
be,
R. Martin.
I'd be really upset, but like, I feel like Tyrion's
No
just
way.
had his.
No
he's just.
way.
He's like.
Dude, if they kill him,
I
there will
know.
be riots.
I'm done.
in
I
the
think
street.
between because at the core,
He's the
if you
most
read the books
beloved.
too, if at the core of the story, it's a story of Jon, Tyrion, and Daenerys, and I think only one of them will survive. So I think that two of them will die, but not in the first episode. It's going to be a lot more of a build up.
Dude, what if?
I'll tell you
I
what's
think it's
gonna happen.
Daenerys, Jon both die, and
Jamie's
Tyrion
going to kill Cersei.
Yeah.
100%.
I was going to say, here's what's going to happen: is
Yeah.
Cersei is going to kill Tyrion,
Ooh.
and Jamie is going to kill.
And his
Cersei.
redemption arc comes full circle.
Because
it's not an arc,
she
it's a circle.
killed.
It's two
Because
arcs.
didn't she kill their own daughter? Or no, the Sand People killed her daughter.
The
So-
Sand
The
People?
Sand
it's not
People.
Star
What are they
Wars.
called?
Yeah. The Dornish.
That's what I was talking about.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway, I never nerded out over here, but that's what I
Yeah.
think happens. The full.
The elves.
A full.
Yeah, the Tyrells
Ty-
killed Joffrey, and then the Martells killed
There's a
their
lot
daughter,
going on.
and then
There is.
Tommen killed himself after she
That's
blew up
right.
the Sept and killed Marjorie.
But then, or what's her name? What's her name? Cersei.
Cersei.
Cersei just killed. She's manipulated so many people. I guess obviously
She's-
Jamie's up to his.
she's manipulated so many people and done so much and killed so many people to get in power, and now she's in power, but she has no way to hold it. She has
Yeah.
no allies.
Yeah.
She really has nothing.
No, everybody hates her.
So that's my prediction.
I think she's gonna
Yeah.
try to befriend the dragon that's now on the other side.
there ain't no way.
No,
The ice dragon,
doesn't
the
care
Night
about
King
anybody.
dragon?
she teamed up with the Ironborn uncle.
Yeah.
Oh,
So I'll be
yeah,
interested.
Euron.
I will be
What's his name
interested.
again?
Euron
Euron.
Greyjoy.
I'll be interested to see how that alliance takes place.
What's he doing right now? Is
He was
He
going.
went and
he would-
attacked
He's
Grey
faking
Worm
it.
at
He's faking it.
Castle Rock.
Yeah, he's going
Okay.
to attack someone because he's gonna bring her something
Castle
back.
Rock. That's not what's the
It's
name?
Dragonstone.
No,
Iron Short. Iron.
no.
I thought he was going to Dragon's.
Casterly Rock. is
Casterly
where
Rock, not
the-
Castle Rock.
Who's
Casterly
at
Rock.
Casterly Rock?
Casterly Rock.
Well, they
is
went and
the
attacked.
ancestral throne of the Lannisters.
Yeah, I know that, but who's there?
It was Grey Worm.
Was Grey.
Remember, they went and
Grey-
attacked. There was nobody there, and then they looked out, and all their
God.
ships were getting destroyed by Euron Greyjoy. Because it was basically they lured all of this
Dude,
their
I got
army
I got
power
it.
out.
Okay,
Mhm.
I'm
Yeah.
watching that tonight.
destroyed
That'll
them,
have, yeah,
and
we
they
should
needed
watch that
those.
tonight.
Well, I'm going to.
Yeah.
Melissa's.
But
Okay. Well, I'll
my-
watch it here. We can call each other and talk
Okay.
on the phone while we watch
I
it.
think I love Brienne of Tarth.
Yeah.
I
Ooh.
think
So
she's
does a
gonna
lot of
die.
characters.
She's gonna die.
She's
Yeah,
gonna
I
die.
think you're right about
She's
that.
definitely gonna die.
At this point, it's like, do they push forward to the final? Like, is the Night King gonna win, and who's gonna sit the Iron Throne? Those are
think-
the only two things that matter right
Yeah.
now, and Brienne doesn't really play a part in either.
That's
of
a good
those.
point.
I have a weird. I don't know. Maybe this is a common thing. I think that Brandon Stark
Mhm.
Braun.
Braun.
I did the same thing. Yeah, it's
is the
confusing.
Night King.
That's so
I've
weird.
seen that
I hope
theory.
that one's not true because I don't.
Not
some like
maybe
some
not
weird
necessarily.
time loop
Yeah,
where he's
maybe,
like can go back in time.
maybe
get
not
stuck and he's
consciously.
existing in two places at
Yeah, I
once.
just
or
don't
something
like-
very confusing.
or he's there to like stop some catastrophic event. I don't know.
Like the Hodor
See, I
thing.
think that theory is a messed up thing that the Night King is Brandon Stark, who was like a Stark thousands of years ago, and then like Brandon is just a family name of the Starks. And so there were like thousands of years ago, there was a Stark who was named Brandon who went north of the wall and never came back. And there's a theory that he became the Night King. And then somehow that morphed its way into people thinking that our Bran is the Night King because people don't know there's two different, a Bran and a Brandon.
Okay, so yeah, it gets confusing. Yeah. I hope that one's not true. I do, because I think the Hodor thing is cool. It's a cool dude. And I've heard a cool theory. They think the Mad King, burn them all, might have been
an instruction.
A Bran thing also. Like he went back in time and saw the Night King, and that's how how Hodor got stuck saying Hodor. But he was just saying hold the door.
So he was saying burn them all,
like burn them all, like
burn
you need
the,
to burn
the whites, burn the white.
Ooh, I like that.
I like that.
I like that.
I don't like So I like that theory better.
That would be interesting because you spent 10 years
here.
just hearing about how terrible the Mad King was, and maybe
Bran was like warning him.
Maybe
like,
Bran just messed him up,
and then it looped the whole thing, and that's how it all started. And
there's a lot of context behind.
Dude, we're dropping some.
But in the books and stuff, there's a lot of context about the Mad King being terrible for years and years leading up to that one moment. So,
but he could have done the possession thing. You know how he was getting him the. I don't know.
The warg.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's exciting. All right, you got one more question or what?
No,
who is on the throne?
Who sits the throne at the end of the season?
I don't think anybody does, and I'm afraid that this show is going to end this way. But I think it's going to be one of those things where it's like there's a giant battle, and we see kind of who the main victor is, but it's not a clear cut like this is the new.
I think it's going to be something to show.
It's going to be like the Inception
the wheels
ending.
Keep turning. Yeah, so either it'll be
is he dreaming? Or?
So I think either it'll be like the Night King wins and he's on the Iron Throne, but then somewhere you see like a flower bloom or something.
Or it could just be like at the end of Lost. Everyone was just dead the whole time.
Whoa, spoilers!
Spoilers!
Oh, sorry. Well,
that's
it'll
be something like
interpretation.
They like basically destroy the entire realm to save them,
but
then you see one family living in a hut or something,
or Jack Bauer just shows up with an AK-47 and
there it is.
He sits on the Iron Throne.
I have seen a thing that at the end of it all it could be
a giant joke and it's Chuck Norris.
No, like Sam Tarley is finishes writing a story and he is George R. R. Martin. He's been the one narrating the whole time. And they're like, what should we call this book, Maester Tarley? And he's like, A Game of Thrones.
Oh, no.
Sam Tarley's going to play a huge part.
I love him. He's one of my
I think he's
favorite
be
characters.
Important, but I'm not. He's going to find some thing that talks about how to kill. Well, he already found how the dragon glass kills the White Walkers.
Dude, what if he dies?
So maybe he'll find a more easy way to get it, or he'll find something in the old books that'll save the day.
Sam lives. Daenerys is on the throne. Jon Snow dies.
I think Jon Snow dies. Daenerys dies.
Daenerys dies.
I don't know who's going to be on the throne.
Bran.
I mean, if the entire series is called A Song of Ice and Fire, the only character that has ice and fire in their bloods is Jon.
Yeah.
Because he's part Targaryen and part Stark, which is ice and fire. Daenerys is full on fire.
Yeah, I think Jon's too worthy of it. He's too good, too loyal, too...
Yeah, we've seen too much stuff in this show to expect a happy ending.
Yeah, that's for
I'm
sure.
expecting the worst. Everybody dies.
Because I would love to say possibly Sansa or possibly what's the other one?
It's not
Sansa. I
not
hope not either. But what's the other one? Arya. But they're just too far removed from being respected or important to own that.
Hodor.
If
Hodor hadn't died, I would have pegged him.
They've almost been removed from the bloodstream of the whole thing. But
Arya is just chaotic good embodied. She doesn't really have a role in the whole thing. She's just running around killing bad guys.
True. Dude, what if it's
Littlefinger on the throne?
What if
Littlefinger's dead?
Oh yeah, that's right.
What if Theon sacks up, so to speak, and
too late for that.
Marches down south and just
I got it, baby.
Sticks it to the Iron Throne. You know what I mean?
That's one way to put it.
Well,
you smell what I'm cooking?
Yeah.
You picking up what I'm putting down?
We'll have to make this a weekly thing in season.
Yes, absolutely.
We'll just. This is.
We
now,
should do like a Sunday
this
special.
This is now a Game of Thrones recap podcast. Until Georgia goes to fall camp, that is what we're doing.
We need to do a Sunday special podcast where we just evaluate
the electric chair.
Yeah. God, that's awesome. All right.
Okay.
Again, we're gonna go ahead and wrap it up here.
Shout out Ed.
Shout out Ed Freeman State Farm. All your insurance needs: cars, boats, life, health. Get it.
Thrones, swords. Dragons.
If you got any of those things, you need insurance, and if you need insurance, might as well call Ed. So be sure to give him a shout out. He's the best. But yeah, that's going to do it from all of us here. Once again, thank you for listening. You can subscribe, and share on Spotify, Facebook, YouTube. We've got a website coming out that's been making. So be on the lookout for that. But from all of us here to all of you out there, we want to say thanks again, and go Dogs.
Go Dogs.